Hello, my name is Greta, and I was diagnosed with ITP in 2005. Today, I want to talk with you about some of the obstacles I've encountered during my ITP journey and share with you some of the things I've learned along the way. As a little bit of background, the past 35 years, I've lived in or around a small farming community called Green Sea, South Carolina. And I absolutely love living out in the boondocks, living out in the country. It's always been my refuge, my escape from the daily grind of trying to make a living. Puttering around in the yard and gardening and hiking through the woods or playing with my dogs have always been my way to relax and enjoy life. So I guess you get the picture. In my younger days, I was pretty active. So when I became a stay inside the house homebody during the spring and summer of 2004, my friends and family became quite concerned. And to be honest with you, so did I. I did have a legitimate excuse. At least I thought I had a legitimate excuse. My husband had become quite ill, and I was drafted into a new role as his caregiver. Now, please don't get me wrong. I loved my husband very, very much and was willing to do anything in the world to help him. But the worry, the stress, the fear, the frayed nerves that came with my new responsibilities as a caregiver just took its toll on me. And I no longer felt like going outside. I never felt like going anywhere or doing anything. But I couldn't blame it all on caregiving. There was something else going on. It was something I couldn't put my finger on. But I just didn't feel normal. Something was just zapping all my energy, keeping me or leaving me just dragging through the day. I felt like I was slogging in a big bowl of Jell-O and was having to fight for every step forward. Plus, I had all these unexplained bruises, peppering my arms and my legs, appearing out of nowhere. To top everything off, I was so tired. I was tired and I was so confused. Before that time, I could do several jobs at the same time and keep up with the progress on each one of them. But I just couldn't do that anymore. Not only was I not able to multitask, but I was lucky to have enough get up and go to complete just one task a day. It was just a totally new experience for me, and it was not pleasant. I tried to explain this new sensation to my husband and to my family, and I was also trying to understand it myself. It wasn't just it's been a busy day, and I need to sit back and relax for a little while type of tired. It was a mind-numbing, bone-weary, just totally unable to think clearly type of fatigue. And I know they tried their best to understand, but there's just no way to appreciate the extent of this kind of fatigue unless you've been there, done that, unless you've experienced it. It's not just physical. It's emotional and it's psychological. It just totally drains your body to the point of total exhaustion. And if that wasn't bad enough, my body started doing crazy things, started playing nasty tricks on me. My menstrual cycle, it went totally haywire. The never-ending heavy bleeding was just unrelenting. And it continued for weeks and weeks at a time before it decided to start slacking off. And then it started back up again a couple of weeks later. I tried to take care of myself. I tried getting more sleep. I tried to eat a more balanced diet. And I tried to stay away from my beloved chocolate. But nothing at all helped. And caregiving stress was not the only reason for this. There was something else going on. And it wasn't something that was going to go away on its own. So I enlisted the aid of a woman's specialist. Now that began a month-long nightmare of being poked and prodded and undergoing weekly exams to determine what was wrong with me. And with each passing week, my energy levels continued to decrease as the unpredictable blood flow continued to increase. And when the test came back, when all the results came back, they came back negative. And the gynecologist, she told me there was nothing wrong with me. I couldn't believe it. She blamed all my symptoms on being at that age when my body starts going through changes. In other words, she had no idea what was wrong and chose to just conveniently blame it on menopause. I am usually a very even-tempered person, very easygoing. But even with my limited medical knowledge, I knew she was wrong. I knew she was overlooking something. And I asked her, why haven't you done any blood work? With all the blood I've lost over the past few months, I've got to be at least anemic. And all the bruises that I've got peppering my body, they were caused by something other than it being that time of life. Well, I could actually see the light bulb going off above her head as that aha moment struck. Aha! That's what I forgot. And she went scurrying out of the room to arrange some labs. It's kind of funny now, I guess, but that simple question about the blood work probably saved my life. Because early the following morning, it was a Friday, April 29th, 2005, I call it my Black Friday, I received a call from the clinic ordering me to get to the hospital as soon as possible for some additional blood work. My results had come back with a platelet alert, and I needed to get some medical attention immediately. Okay, whatever that means. Even with my brain fog, the urgency in the nurse's voice came through loud and clear. So I obeyed my summons, went to the hospital. Of course, my muddled brain didn't comprehend very much more of the conversation, so I couldn't really explain to my husband why we were going to the hospital. All I could tell him was that there was something wrong with my blood work. My blood work indicated a problem, and I needed to get some more blood drawn so I could the doctors could either confirm or disprove the platelet alert. Okay. Well, in the hospital lab, the lab tech initially informed us that everything was okay and I could go home. All right, that was wonderful. But on our way out the door, I heard a noise coming from the lab. It was a little screech coming from the lab. And the technician dashed out of the office and calling my name and running after me, telling me to wait. Once she caught up with us, she apologized profusely and explained that she had accidentally read the wrong report. that my platelets had dropped from 13,000 the previous day to 8,000 that morning. And she said I needed to go around to the emergency room for further evaluation. I don't remember too many details of the visit to the emergency room, except for spending most of the time in the bathroom trying to deal with the accelerating flow of blood. One thing I do recall was being in a little curtained-off cubbyhole with the ER doctor. And he informed me that my platelets were down to 2,000, and he was admitting me into the protective care unit in the hospital. Now, of course, I was in la-la land. I didn't know what was going on. I had no recollection of anything else he said to me. My brain fog and stress and the overwhelming fatigue had just totally shut down my brain. My mind and my body they just didn't want to function anymore. You know, I didn't know it at the time. But soon after being admitted, my platelet count dropped to 0. And I came very, very close to bleeding out. I guess I was lucky my brain was idling on screensaver because I just didn't have the sense to be scared at that time. Well, after I got settled into my little room, the medical staff hovered over me constantly. They were checking for any signs of internal or external hemorrhaging, and that went on throughout the night and into the following day. I didn't get one wink of sleep. And on that second day, the doctor came in, the doctor from the emergency room. He came in and confirmed that I had ITP, and he tried to explain our plan of action. And he rattled off an explanation of what ITP was and what our first steps in getting my platelet count up were and how, hopefully, that would get the bleeding under control. Well, he looked at me and it was just a duh type of moment. My response to everything that he said was just a deafening silence. Nothing registered at all. Exhaustion, confusion. It just completely prevented any new information from registering inside my muddled brain. And everything he said just went right over the top of my head. Fortunately, my husband was there. He was there to ask the right questions and to understand what was going on for both of us. I was in PCU for a week. And after a week of being on 80 milligrams of prednisone, I was really beginning to climb the walls. So, for their own sanity and for mine, they let me go home with a platelet count of 11,000. But they also sent me home with a long list of don't do's. You know, it's kind of hard to believe that it's been nearly 20 years since I was diagnosed with ITP. You know, in one way, it seems like those first days in the hospital were just a dream. You know, I was observing somebody else laying in that bed with the IVs, you know, pumping in the IVIG and the platelets and plasma and prednisone and heaven knows what else was going inside of my body, her body. But on the other hand, the overwhelming fatigue, it was so real. It couldn't have been a dream. Yeah, I was anemic from all of the active bleeding, But even when my hemoglobin returned back to a normal range, I continued to exist in la la land. I continued to mope around. The prednisone, it did its job of raising my platelets, and as my platelet count increased, my fatigue and brain fog lifted a little bit as well. Yet, however, over the following years, as I rode the ITP roller coaster of fluctuating platelet counts and changing dosages of steroids, my fatigue just bounced around with them. It was kind of strange that the higher dosages of prednisone, they made me feel so hyper. I couldn't sit still. Yet when I tried to work off that excess energy, I tired before I could even contemplate finishing the task that I was working on. But I was still too hyped up to sit and relax. And it was yo-yoing back and forth like that for, I can't remember how many years. But it totally messed up my mind and my body with those mixed messages I was receiving. And it not only drove me crazy, it drove my husband crazy as he tried to care for me. The sad part, though, was I had no idea. I had no idea why everything exhausted me so badly. And I wondered if it was me. Am I going crazy? Is this all my imagination, or is it part of the disease? And of course, the experts, the doctors, they all said, no, there's no connection between ITP and fatigue. It's all due to your anemia. Well, I wasn't anemic anymore. And I didn't agree. And neither did other ITPers that I talked to over social media. But still, we didn't have any facts. We couldn't back up our arguments until finally somebody did some kind of a study. I think it was the ITP Support Association. And science finally proved us right. Oh, I'm telling you, that was a welcomed relief when I found out that the fatigue and the brain fog were recognized as symptoms of ITP. Geez, I wish I'd known that back in 2005. I wouldn't have felt like I was crazy. It wasn't all my imagination. There really was a reason for my fatigue. I wish I'd known then what I know now. But even though I'm in remission now, memories of my old nemesis, they still haunt me when I think about my ITP journey. I never fully recovered my enthusiasm for the great outdoors that I had all those years ago. But I still enjoy my morning walks every day, and I still enjoy playing with my dogs and working out in the yard. But it's just not the same. It's just not the same as it was. Granted, I'm older. I'm a senior citizen now. And I'm not supposed to have all the vim and vigor and vitality that I had back in my younger days prior to being diagnosed with ITP. And I guess it's understandable that I have a tendency to get tired sooner than I want to because of my age. But I really do miss those days before ITP and fatigue slowed me down. Anyway, I think it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful, that both specialists and patients are now talking more about ITP and fatigue, about how they are connected, because it is a major factor in coping with this disease. Nobody can understand the incapacitating effects of extreme fatigue unless they've been there and done that. But at least the doctors are now, they may not have experienced fatigue like we've been through. But they're willing to discuss it. They're willing to understand what we're going through. They're willing to help us. Well, through my experience of coping with fatigue, I've picked up a few techniques that have helped. And I'd like to share them with you. First of all, remember that fatigue is a part of our ITP life. Just pace yourself. Do what you can when you can do it. You know, the world's not going to end if you don't get everything done right now. There's always tomorrow. And there's always somebody else who can do it for you. Keep a positive attitude. Listen. Listen to your body. After you've had ITP for a little while, after I had ITP for a little while, I don't know about everyone else, but I could tell what was going on inside. You know, when I went to get my labs, I could predict within 10,000 what my platelet count was going to be. You get to know your body. Just be as active as you can. You know, follow what your body is telling you. Be as active as you can, but know your limitations. And of course, there's always going to be the you don't look sick type of people. And also your family and your friends who try to be sympathetic but just don't get it. You know, help them to understand by patiently explaining that you have a chronic disease and fatigue is a part of it. You know, you have to live with it. They have to live with it. It's just part of the life of being an ITPer. And always remember the slogan, I have ITP, it does not have me. That's something that helped me get through many, many dark times. Okay, well, that's all I've got to say. I thank you. Thank you, folks, for listening to my story. And I hope that my saga has enlightened you in some little way. And I wish you the absolute best in your ITP journeys. And that you enjoy the rest of this conference. And that you remember, you know, that, like I said, just pace yourself and be and know that fatigue is a part of this disease. Thank you.